Okay, so I'm gonna wait until you guys get on here. Okay, is my microphone working? Yes, it is. I can see that my microphone is working. Every time I keep forgetting. I'm not used to YouTube. I'm used to Zoom. When I do Zoom, it just automatically connects me with the internal microphone on the computer. But when I do, for some reason, it's on automatically some loop back thing or something. So you guys found me. Good. Sorry about that. One of these weeks I'll remember. So I think Kelly is asleep. I tried nursing her and putting her down, and then she woke up. So Abby was in there patting her back. So I think she's asleep. She's been going to bed earlier and earlier. Um, Hopefully, she'll be down this entire time while I am talking about this subject. So, Kelly, yes, Kelly, it is a controversial topic, and we will get into that in just a minute. I am talking about why being a stay-at-home mom is not settling. My daughter was asking me what I was talking about tonight. As of like 2 hours ago, I had not decided what I was going to talk about. So settle down. Haha. Okay, so let me go. I'm going to go get my outline. I know. My husband said you're going to delete that first video. I know. I'm going to delete it. But first things first, I got to get into the show. So I'm going to sign into my account. Okay. So I got my outline. Okay. So we got 10 people, 11 people that have found us. So hopefully, hopefully they are catching on that this is the live stream one. Let me go see if I can delete that other video right now. Is that one it? Yeah, that's one. Okay. Let me go delete it right now. Let's edit it. How do I delete it from here? I'm on my dashboard. I don't know how I delete it. Yeah, I don't know how to delete it from my dashboard. So anyways, just keep talking amongst yourselves while I figure all this out. I think I have to actually sign into YouTube and go that way. So I think people will figure it out once they see that it's 33 seconds long. So let me go on there just a minute. Keep talking, chat with each other. Thanks, Brother Dan. Now we're up to 18 watching now. So he said he had to pop in and say stay-at-home moms are awesome. Okay, so let me go to my library, my videos, and let's go ahead and delete. Okay, that's deleted. Okay, I'm ready to go. So let's get into the topic for tonight. Okay, so I just wrote a blog post. If you do not read my blog, it's at thegentlyledsisters.com. If you go there, there's a part where you can see the blog and you can go to the blog. And I had written a blog post last week about herbs and things, but it's the one right before that one called Being a Stay-at-Home Mom is Not Settling. And that has actually been one of my more popular blog posts. So I kind of wanted to do a show along those lines too, because I know it's a very controversial subject because society makes us feel like if we are stay-at-home moms, then we're less or not as important as career moms. So I really wanted to delve into this tonight, kind of go over some of the points that I brought up in the article. And then also if you have questions or comments, please leave them, interact with each other. At the end, I kind of wanted to talk about if you're a woman who is a career woman, but you have been convicted to stay at home with your children and, you know, just different things that you can do to get ready for that, different routes that you can take to do that. So that's going to be at the end that I am going to be talking about that. Yes. And Karen, I always forget to do my little plugs at the beginning. She's doing it for me. She said, everybody give the video a thumbs up. Yes. Thumbs up, subscribe, all that. You know, I don't do a lot of the whole YouTube things that I'm supposed to, all the YouTube, what is it called? All the YouTube slogans and things that they do when they're on, but it definitely does help get the video out there more according to the algorithm of YouTube. If you like it, if you share it, if you comment on it, even comments, more the videos that have more comments, they'll be on people's recommended. And actually, when I'm looking at the traffic for the channel, much of the traffic comes from recommended videos. Almost all of it comes from it, YouTube popping it up on people's recommended. So definitely, definitely do that. So thank you for bringing that up, Karen. So anyways, oh, ring the bell. Yes, ring that bell. Is that what it's called? Yes, ring that bell. But many of us do have a desire to marry, have children, and stay at home to raise them, especially for many, especially the atheists I've found and the feminists. This is seen as menial tasks, as you wasting your life, as you not living up to your full potential. And, especially when you're in a dog eat dog world where a lot of people really struggle to make ends meet on two incomes, much less one income. And then also, we that have decided to be stay at home moms, we oftentimes have many, many children, and that's looked down upon and frowned upon, especially when you decide that children are a blessing and you want a large family. That is looked down upon it as well. And as you know, you have to do more to be able to make it, financially, as far as you do have to sacrifice. It is a sacrifice to raise a large family. You have to give up some things. You have to give up a lot of the fancy vacations and a lot of the material possessions that many parents with no children have, or people that have two jobs. They're able to afford a little bit more of life's luxuries. So you do have to give some things up. So that's looked down on quite a bit. And Dorothy said you get branded as lazy as well, which is just laughable to me because obviously all of us that are stay-at-home moms know the exhaustion that comes with it. And I feel like sometimes maybe this is different for work, career moms. I've never had a career since having children. So I can't, I have not been there. But I feel like sometimes it would be easier to clock in and clock out. As for a mom, a stay-at-home mom especially, we never get to clock out. We're always on duty. We're always on the job. And, we don't get a big fat paycheck from it as well. So I've never been a career woman, though, so I wouldn't be able really to say from that point of view. But yes, Samantha said we're supposedly aiding to overpopulation as well because we're all just pushing each other off the edge of the earth, apparently. So, but I wanted to read 1 Timothy 5:14. I'm going to read the context before it because this is what happens to a lot of young women that don't get married, or even young women that have too much time on their hands. It says, but the younger widows refuse, for when they have begun to wax wanton against Christ, they will marry, having damnation because they have cast up their first faith. And withal, they learn to be idle. This is younger widows is talking about, wandering about from house to house, and not only idle, but tattlers also, and busybodies, speaking things which they ought not. And then this is his desire for single women next coming up. I will therefore that the younger women marry, bear children, guide the house, give none occasion to the adversary to speak reproachfully. So, we see that the Bible teaches to marry and have children, not a career. It doesn't say I would that the women go out, get a job, help provide alongside their husbands. There's also some good pointers in this verse as to why single women need to get married, because I have known many single women that don't have a husband to keep them busy, don't have children to keep them busy. And they are tattlers and busybodies and everyone's affairs, just going around, seeing what gossip they can scrounge up online all day, on gossip websites and things like that. So, providing for the family falls on the man. And there's many verses. I looked up verses about men being providers, and a lot popped up. So obviously, one of the most well-known ones is 1 Timothy 5:8. But if any provide not for his own, and especially for those of his own house, he hath denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. So the Bible has very, very, very strong words for someone that does not provide for their children. So that's another thing, when the man decides that he's going to have a whole past full of children, he better be ready to bear the responsibility of providing for them. When he puts that burden also on his wife to provide extra income, then that she is bearing, I believe, almost, double curse. When Adam and Eve were put into the garden, Adam was given the job of dressing it, naming the animals, things like that. But then when they were thrown out, he was given the curse of, working and sweating and providing for his family. And Eve was given the curse of sorrow her sorrow in conception and bearing children and things. So I believe that when he puts expectations on her to also go out and get a job, along with raising the children and guiding the house, she's bearing part of the double curse. So it's much better for a family unit if you're just each have your own part. The man has his part of providing and working hard, and the woman has her part of bearing the children, going through that, raising them, things like that. So, and Leslie, you're exactly right. A mother's work is never through, especially when all you have is little kids and you have way younger kids than me. I was just talking to my husband last night. It's been a lot easier having Kelly this time around, even though she's a high maintenance baby, because I have so much help. I have so much help from my daughter, Abby. And if Abby's not here, then, one of the other kids can help. And it's funny because just last weekend, I think my husband was gone with my two older girls and my two boys were working the whole time. So I was here with just my three littles. And I'm like, I feel like I'm a young mom again. I was so exhausted from three little kids. And a 7 is like a piece of cake because I have older ones. 7 is such a piece of cake compared to having three little ones all on my own. So, that's a shout out to you mothers that have little kids at home. You are amazing. You are so amazing. So yes, you cannot wait to have teenagers. I love having teenagers. And Abby is just like, once it gets to the teenage years, I feel like it's not physically exhausting. It is mentally exhausting sometimes because you are guiding them and you have a lot of late night talks and, you're really trying to instruct them because it is such a crucial part of the, but physically and physically, they're a lot easier. They're a lot easier to raise when they're teenagers, I think, because they're not as physically exhausting. So, but it said that my internet connection was unstable for a second there. So I waited to see if it would reconnect, and it did. So, Genesis 2:15 says, and this is talking about the Lord right after, Adam was created, and the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to dress it and keep it. So obviously from the start, God has determined that man is the worker. He is the one as far as physical work, obviously being a mom's physical work too, but as far as going out and making a paycheck and providing for the needs of the family and stuff, man is the one that does that. So Kirsten, you're exactly right. She has a 6, 5, and 2-year-old, and it's easier without your 6-year-old. The 3 littles is hard. Yeah, it's really, really hard. But as they get older and you start giving them more and more tasks, and I think Leslie's just starting to get into this because Gwen is getting older now. So she's going to be more of a help, and you're just going to be amazed at how much they can pick up and how much, it really, really helps you out. Or they can just at least watch the baby while you're cooking. That's huge. Or hold the baby, rock the baby while you're cooking. That's huge. So yes, Ashley, Ashley will be praying for you. I hope that you are able to have a family someday. I definitely hope that. So congratulations, Samantha. But I submit to you that having children and raising them is the hardest, but the most fulfilling job that you can do as a woman. And God put in us the desire to get married and have kids. And so I have some reasons why being a stay-at-home mom is not settling. And, I've never really met anyone that's at the end of their life has regretted having children and spending a lot of time with them. I have met women that have regretted choosing a career over family. And when they did choose that career, it made all their family relationships disintegrate because they focused so much time and energy on the career. They didn't, and I'll talk about this in a little bit, they didn't keep up with their marriage. They let their marriage disintegrate. They didn't keep up with relationships with their children. Their children grew up hating them. They were never around. So I have seen that. Well, good for you, Leslie. See, she's already helping you out a lot. So, but it's not settling to have priorities in your heart from the time you're young. It's okay from the time you're young to when people ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? Tell them, I want to be a mom and I want to be a wife and I want to stay home and raise my babies. That's okay. And still that, most little girls that are not going to public schools and being indoctrinated by women can do anything, which, yeah, I agree that women can do anything, but should we be doing everything? Should we be competing with men in the workplace, or is our place in the home? And obviously, I believe, according to the Bible, our place is in the home. So women can, it's not settling for your dream to be a home and a husband and kids. From the time I was little, wanted to have a family. I wanted to get married and I wanted to have a family. That was my dream. I mean, I had other things that I enjoyed doing and I had skills that I worked on, and we'll talk about that too. But I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom and a wife. That was my heart's cry. I also wanted to be doing things in church ministry. I have from the time I'm young, I have always wanted to. I've loved church and I wanted to be in church all the time. Every time the doors were open for every service, I wanted to be in church. I just love being around God's people, and I just love church, and that was always something I wanted to do. So if people would ask me, what do you want to do when you grow up? I wanted to be a mom. So, and there's no shame in that. It's okay for your girls to want that. It's a good thing for them to want it. So, you know, um, there are different ways to achieve the dream of being a stay-at-home mom and wife. And I did list some things like a good thing to do is learn homemaking skills from a young age. And homemaking is an art. It's an art to decorate your home and make it inviting and make it nice. And, working with what you have. Our house is not the grandest of houses. We do not live in a mansion. We live in a teeny tiny house. It's dated. It has a lot of things that need to be fixed up in it. But it is I try to do the best that I can. And I try to work with what I have, and I try to make it inviting and comfortable. And, it's what we can afford, me being a stay-at-home mom, and it's what God has given us. And we have a roof over our heads and it's comfortable. So, be happy, be content with what you are doing. Abby, can you tell the girls to stop, please? Thank you. Keep yourself pure. If you're a younger lady and you are listening to this, make sure that you keep yourself pure for that man. And if you want to be married to a good man, from the time you're young, know and keep it in your heart and your mind that you will not give in to physical pressure to do anything physically with a man until he says, I do. Because a man that will wait for you and a man that will put a ring on your finger and marry you before wanting anything physically is usually a very good man. And it shows that he is willing to provide for you and provide for your needs. So if you want a good man, definitely keep yourself pure and wait. And then also, be very picky about who you marry. Make sure that they have the same goals that you. Don't date a guy that only wants one kid, So just a minute, I'm going to be right back. Lana. So this time I got Kelly to sleep, but Lana's misbehaving. My husband has to go to bed really, really early on Monday nights because he goes to work at like 2:30 in the morning. So he's already in bed. Otherwise, he would be taking care of it. So, but yeah, be very picky about have a lot of children. Marry someone who wants to have a lot of children. If you just marry someone who is not lazy, who is a hard worker, who will provide for you and provide for your children's needs, who won't buckle under responsibility. It is hard. It's hard providing for a big family. There are a lot of pressures on our men. So, make sure that I know obviously you cannot see his heart when you get married. You don't know 100%. If he's a good man, even the best of us women have been fooled. But just try to pray for discernment and trust your parents if you're still living at home. Really trust them, let them guide you into making good decisions when it comes to your future spouse. So, those are two very, very important things if you're single and you're watching this. Also learn and get good at something. Work on a skill. Always push yourself to learn new things. Never stop learning new things until you die. Always be learning new skills and learning new things. So always. And okay, so those are just some ways to prepare yourself for being a mother, being a stay-at-home, a home, mother. And I think too, when you're single, the learning contentment is very, very important, because if you're content and happy as a single young lady, chances are you're going to be content and happy when you're married and you're poor and you don't have more than 2 dimes to rub together. Chances are you're going to be content if life throws you things that you aren't asking for, like infertility or bankruptcy or illness, or just having to struggle to make ends meet all the time. You can learn to be content when you're single, and that will carry over when you are married. I think most women that I know that are just miserable, I think the number one issue that they have is they're just super, super discontent, and they're not happy with what God has placed in their life. So learning contentment is a choice. Happiness a lot of times is a choice. Obviously, there's going to be valleys and there's going to be sad days when you go through horrible things, but contentment really is a choice, and it's a matter of the heart. So, but it's not settling to decide that you're going to raise your kids and not the daycare down the street. I don't know why us as women, why we're told to go get a career or a job and let someone else raise our kids, because they're getting paid to raise our kids. It just doesn't make sense. And kind of go over quickly, when you sit down and you break down, if you have a few children that you have to have in daycare, I think the daycare cost can range from like $600 to $1,000 a week. And if you sit down and you break down the costs of just just the commute to and from work, the food that you'll be eating out, and you compare it to your actual paycheck after all the daycare costs and the food and the gas has been deducted, you're not coming out ahead. Most women are not going to be making more than, even when I was working, doing private music lessons, I was making $20 an hour, $19, $20 an hour. So most women are not going to make more than that. Now, I was able to do that because, at the season of my life, my children were older and my husband was home every night. The nights that I did it, I only did it 1 or 2 nights a week, but he was home to watch the kids during that time. So, obviously then I came out ahead. But if you have to look for daycare during the day so that you can go work during the day, you're not going to come out ahead when it comes to having a job. So really sit down and count the costs. If you're thinking about going to work, really sit down and count the costs. And also look at the things that happen at daycares. A lot of times there's a lot of physical abuse that goes on that you don't know about. There's a lot of sexual abuse sometimes that goes on. And do you want your children to live with something for the rest of their life because you were so determined to have a career, and to make a name for yourself or whatever? So it's not worth it to me. But it's also not settling to homeschool. Okay. It's not settling to homeschool. Obviously, when you decide to homeschool, you are tackling a huge task, and you are taking on yourself primarily the job of teaching them what you want to teach them. And that's one of the most important things to me. I could never in a million years send my children to the public schools because of the indoctrination that they have there. They're pushing this curriculum where they're telling kids that, are you questioning if you're a girl or if you're a boy? Were you supposed to be a girl? Were you supposed to be a boy? You can be anything you want to be. They're pushing sodomy. They're pushing. That's not worth it. I would never send my children ever to a public school institution where they're going to be taught that. So let me look over some of these comments. There's a lot coming in. Jennifer said, learning contentment and trusting the Lord's timing for marriage and babies. Ashley said, I agree. Infertility and other struggles are hard, but we can't base contentment like that. We can't base, it's crawling all over me. We can't base contentment on circumstances. That's a good mental, that's good to have in your head mentally. And then Jennifer said, I've been so surprised after quitting my job, how much money we have saved and how many costs we've been able to cut. You would be shocked if you figured out all the costs that you're doing. I mean, think about even if you're just too tired to cook after you've worked all day. You come home and you just want to relax. So you order takeout, that's 30 or 40 bucks to feed your family. So just even little things like that, you would be shocked how much better you have it financially just staying home. So Jessica said, I always wanted to stay at home and considered teaching, but after working at a daycare in college, I was like, my kids will never go to daycare. And I've heard that a lot from people that have worked in daycares. They have said that they would never send their children to daycare after just seeing what goes on there and the type of children and stuff that they're around. So, and then, yes, Deidre said, huge blessing not to have that debt. Wish I knew better. I'm grateful for education, but wow, the debt. That's another thing too, is that if you go to school, you're going to be strapped with a lot of debt. And if you want to get married someday, this is another way that you can, prepare for marriage someday. Don't get into a lot of debt that you're going to strap your future husband down with. Be very, very careful about that. I have known of instances where the husband gets married and rightfully so, he now has all of his wife's debt. And then they have a children a year after they get married, and suddenly she can't provide an income. She can't go to school for what she even got all that debt for, or she can't go to work, even though she went to school and got all that debt. So now he is providing for their family and paying off all her debts. So be really, really careful about that. But homeschooling is flexible and they won't be brainwashed by the world's philosophy. So that's the biggest issue for me. I am just appalled at what they're being taught. I have seen friends and acquaintances that have sent their children to public school, and by the time they are in second or third grade, they're learning about sex education, and it's polluting their minds. It's changing their minds. Kids that young aren't need to be thinking about it that early. It messes with them. It messes their minds up. It makes them perverted from a young age, and maybe that's the goal. I don't know, but just for that reason alone, I will not ever send my children to I will not send my children to a public school. So it's not settling to work from home while you raise your kids, work on a side business to keep yourself sharp and bring in extra income as well. So this is one thing I know lots of you ladies have often wondered, how do I make income from home? Well, this goes back to learning skills when you're younger and growing up, whether that's musical skills. I cannot thank my parents enough for giving me music lessons, because it is the number one thing after, keeping care of the home and cooking and all that. It's the number one thing I use the most, because I was able to start up my own, which I should have done this a long time ago. I knew it was going to be a lot of work, and it was. And Karen knows how much work it was. It was a lot of work getting it up and running. I should have done it a few years ago, but instead I was just teaching here in town, private lessons a few nights a week. But now the way I did it is so much better, because I'm teaching church music, which I love, over classical music. I can teach both, but I focus primarily on church music, and I'm teaching from the comfort of my own home, and I don't have to drive anywhere. I'm teaching with my kids doing school in the next room. I'm teaching where I can nurse my baby sometimes. So, just learning how to start the business kept me sharp. It taught me new things I had never done before. And luckily I had a very good teacher. Karen's amazing at all that. Karen Rodriguez from our house. And she taught me a lot of new things, but it's good skills to learn to have, and all of us women, we need to keep ourselves sharp. We need to be learning new things and reading and researching, and, just don't ever settle for staying where you are all the time. Always be pushing yourself, because your kids are going to see, and they're going to pick up on things, and they're going to learn from your example. So always be pushing yourself. Yes. And once I started it, it was really cool, because it was just, I had obviously it from the beginning, and I was concerned, but from the first week that I did it, I'm like, this is amazing. Why didn't I do this before? And it's going really, really, really well. So there is, it's pretty awesome, because I'm still doing what I love, raising my family, but I also am doing another thing that I love, and that is imparting my love for music to other people. So, plus I'm making a little side income on the side, which we're going to get into, that in a minute. I'm spending too much time on all my subjects because I'm not getting through half of what I want to get through. But, when it comes to a side income, if you have a part-time gig that you're doing on the side while you're keeping up with your family and home, I would encourage you to kind of put it aside as a nest egg. Don't ever get to where you're relying fully on that income in case something comes along where, you have sick kids, you have to quit for a while, you have to just take a break for a while. If you're not relying on your income, it's going to be like you don't even miss it. So that's another thing to remember too. If you are a stay-at-home mom and you have some part-time income coming in, just be careful not to get dependent on that to pay the bills and things. Still rely on your husband's salary to pay the bills and things like that. So let me see. She said, it's awesome. I'm sick and I don't have to cancel our piano lessons for tomorrow. Yeah, it is really cool. You don't have to leave the house. So someone said, I can see how having skills such as music, sewing, etc. can be a huge blessing as a stay-at-home mom. I always wanted to do things, but did not learn until later in life at 27. Yes, it is a huge, huge, huge blessing. If you have kids, obviously not just because I'm a piano teacher, but I am so grateful that I was taught skills growing up. I was grateful that I was encouraged to do all my musical studies that I did, my voice lessons and my piano lessons and my flute lessons. I don't even know how much money my mom must have spent. I was taking 3 different types of lessons a week. So that is a lot. And she would drive me. I mean, she drove me to all those places until I got old enough to drive myself. So 3 different things, voice, piano, and flute every single week. So that was a lot. But, it was important to her. And now it's important to me. And I'm hoping to pass that love on to other people too. So it is, if you didn't learn till 27, if you start having children, make sure that they know these skills, make sure that they get involved in music and they get involved in something that they like, crocheting or sewing. You can even have your own nice little Etsy business, making different homemade items or embroidered items. I know personalized items are huge right now. So definitely learn some type of skill that you can have. Yes, I was homeschooled, Logan. I went to a Christian school, a private school until 6th grade. And then from 7th grade through high school, I was homeschooled. So I was able to devote a lot of my time, a big chunk of my time towards my musical studies. And then I was also able to babysit. I babysat a lot, which it was when I was babysitting when I was like, oh, I can't wait to have kids because I just loved kids so much. So I was able to babysit kids and do my musical studies. Yeah, I had a good childhood. It was a good one. And I was able to read all I wanted. I'm still a reader. I love to read. So, but it's not settling. Okay, so I put some things under the whole work from home. You're going to learn to manage your time, your homemaking skills even better. The busier you are, I find that the busier I am, the better I am about getting laundry done, about planning out my meals ahead of time, about keeping up with the housework, because if anything stresses me out more, it's being behind on housework. I feel so overwhelmed. I feel stressed. If the house is dirty, I just feel like my head's going to explode. I like to stay on top of it. And so the busier I am, the more I can't sit around on my phone or watch a movie, or I don't really even watch anything. We were talking about that yesterday, my daughter and I were, and I'm like, I never just sit down and watch a movie. I'm too busy. Even if I have I'll have YouTube playing, but I'm always doing something. I never sit and watch YouTube. So I'll either have it playing while I'm getting ready or I'm doing dishes, which Abby does the dishes most of the time now. But if I'm doing, if I'm playing in the bathroom, I'll just get my Bluetooth speaker out and have that going while I clean. I don't ever just sit and watch it. It's very, very rare that I sit and watch. So, but you're going to learn new skills that you never used, which I already covered that. It's not settling to raise up a new generation of competent adults. Children are not being taught anything now, nothing from them. They don't expect them to learn life skills. They don't expect them to learn how to take care of a home, or their boys how to work hard in the yard and learn how to do the weed eater and mow and clean out gutters. And they don't teach them anything. So we need to raise up as Christians. We need to be different than that. we need to raise up a generation that is actually functioning and capable of doing things. So we definitely need to be different than the world in that regard. And, it's pretty sad that they have to, even in public school, are having to teach them very, very basic things because they're not being taught that at home. It's not the public school's job to teach our children that. It's our job. Um, let's see. Alicia, yeah, I always just multitask while YouTube is on. But I mean, that's the beauty of it. You can do that. So I can't just sit and look at the TV either. I'm sitting there and I'm thinking of all these things that I have going on. Even if it's a documentary, it's really, really rare for me to sit and just watch it straight through. I don't know. I feel like just sitting there doing nothing for an hour and a half is such a waste of time. And it's not if you're learning something, but that's just how I am. I just feel like I always have to be moving, doing something. So Kirsten asked me, how many siblings did I have? I was the oldest of five. So it is expensive. It is very expensive. My mom was able to find pretty affordable lessons back then. I think she was paying like $7 a lesson. Okay, so it was like 20 some dollars a week for all three things, which is insanely cheap. Now that's pretty much what it is a lesson. But if you can, usually Christian teachers are more affordable. And that's why, even since starting my academy, I know I've had a few people tell me that I need to charge more. But I don't want to because I want to keep it affordable. So, because I know what it's like having a lot of kids and I know how expensive it can be for music lessons. So, I want to keep it affordable so people are able to have, one or two kids taking lessons. So, my main goal is not so much to make a ton of money. My main goal is I do want to pass on the love of my music and to help churches. I want to help, a good piano player will help churches. Music is a huge part of a church service. So if I'm helping church pianists to become better, then that's going to in turn help their church. So I have a couple sisters that they are pretty good at piano. I had three, we all took music lessons. The sister right below me decided from a young age she hated it. So my mom made her take for a few years and then she did let her quit, and she still regrets quitting, actually. So that's another lesson, try to encourage your kids to do it or make it mandatory. You make them brush their teeth. You don't give them a choice with their teeth. Make it mandatory if you have to. They might thank you for it. Maybe not, but they might thank you for it when they get older. The sister below her, she is skilled at the piano, and so is the youngest one. She's very good at flute and piano as well, but they don't use it as much as me because they don't play in church. So my style is a little bit different. I probably improvise more where they read the notes more because we were all classically trained. So I've learned to improvise just from playing church music. So yeah, Shara said that's the same with me. And photography, although I'm realizing, reminding myself not to be free to everyone. Yeah. Once you do it, it's hard to start charging. It is. And I feel like if you do it for totally free, people get a welfare mentality. If you notice, some of the people on welfare are some of the most ungrateful, just I deserve everything type mentality. And it's usually the people on welfare. It's a proven fact that when people pay for something, they take it more seriously and they appreciate it more. It's weird. I don't know why it is that way, but it is that way. It's human nature. So even if it's a small fee, you should probably charge something. But did I work before I got married? I only, let me show this. I only babysat for people, and I started teaching piano lessons after I was graduated. So I did piano lessons in a church. So would I let my daughters do that? Yeah, I would let them do that. Would I let them work a secular job? Probably not. It would depend. I'm not going to set a hard rule and say I will never do this because it honestly depends on the child, and every child is different. But I needless things that for an $8.50 job an hour, an $8 an hour job. So I feel like it is very, it's putting your daughters in an unnecessary environment where you don't really you don't want them to be, in temptation, first of all, when they're around very worldly people. So I probably would not let my daughters get a secular job. That's just my personal preference. So I'm getting really off topic because I'm trying to answer a lot of your guys' questions, but that's fine. Keep them coming. And Kirsten, you're right. Harp is the caviar of music lessons. It is very expensive. I think violin is too. Violin's pretty expensive to take. That was weird. This guy just said, I want to do violin lessons. And obviously, there are YouTube things that you can watch, but nothing is the same as having a personal teacher that is experienced. She can really find, like I found when I teach, there's just certain things that my students do that I can catch early at bad habits that I can nip in the bud. If you're just doing YouTube videos, you're going to develop a lot of bad habits. So, okay, so let me move on. But yeah, it's not settling to realize that your marriage takes a lot of work, but it's worth it. It's already hard enough. I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I feel like I barely ever see my husband. We're both so busy, and we pretty much have every evening together. But he goes to bed so early, a couple of the nights throughout the week, he goes to bed super, super early. So I'm not going to go to bed at 6:30 or 7 whenever he goes to bed. So I'm not really around him then. And then Wednesday nights, he preaches. We're at church. Pretty much he comes home, takes a nap, and then we go to church. So Thursdays and Fridays are kind of like the days that I see him. But even then, if I was working, I wouldn't see him Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. So, marriage is going to take a lot of work. And it just makes it so much harder when you have a career on top of everything else. So, you need to be available. A lot of times my husband will just be like, "Hey, can you go do this for me? Hey, I need you to do this for me." Well, if I had a career, then I couldn't do that. So, I know I'm his help meets. That's what we are. We are their help meets. So I know I'm there to help him. And that's important, and it's worth it. It's worth it to have good marriages because many career women could care less about their marriages and they fall apart. And then then they need to be single parents. And, that's hard enough. Being a single parent, being at home with your kids is hard enough. But if you're a single parent plus working a job and you're away from your kids all the time, it's going to be really, really hard to raise good kids. So, just pay a lot of attention to your marriage. It's worth it to put the work in, the effort into it. It's not settling to be your kid's mom. You can't expect to raise good kids without being there for them. One of my favorite sayings in the world is anything good in life is hard, or anything good in life takes work. And it's true. You don't ever just have something handed to you. I feel like often people might think that things have just been handed to me in life. And, well, you have a good husband because you just got lucky. You have good kids because you just got lucky. You don't get lucky with things like that. Every choice I've made in life, I've always, number one, I genuinely, I love the Lord and I want to follow his commandments. And so everything in my life has been geared around that. Every choice I've made from the time I was little. And, I feel like now at almost 40, I'm starting to reap a lot of the benefits. And it is hard. It's hard being ostracized by family and friends. And it's hard feeling like you are stupid, or, you're throwing your life away. And it's hard being made to feel that way. But as you get older and you get more experience, you start seeing just how much better of a life this is. I'm not on antidepressants or, you know, hating my life or miserable. I'm happy. And I know that drives some people nuts, and that, well, it's just because you're lucky. This stuff like this isn't luck. Stuff like this is choices that you make. And there are some women that they've had no choice in how their life has turned out. Maybe, you know, age, or they married someone that they didn't know was the way that they were, and they got put in an awful situation. So I'm acknowledging that. I'm not acknowledging that bad things don't happen to good people. Bad things do happen to good people. But life is also a series of choices that you make, and your outcome is series of choices that you make. So try to instill that in your kids from the time that they're little, let them know that what they decide is going to affect, me deciding to be a stay-at-home mom, that is now affecting my children and possibly my grandchildren and my great grandchildren. Just keep that in mind. You've had a horrible day and you just feel like it will be easier to send the kids to daycare or public school and just go get a job. Keep in mind that that might affect future generations. So you pouring your legacy into your children is not settling. It's not going for second best. It is the best. It is the best thing in the world to choose for your children and your grandchildren and your great grandchildren and generations to come. Just keep that in mind. So, yeah, Samantha, they think you're pampered. Exactly. And they have no clue. I've had many, many bad losses in my life. But once again, it just all comes down to not wavering in your decision to follow the Lord, no matter what comes your way. It comes down to being resolute in your decision and knowing that this is what you're going to do, no matter what people say about you, no matter what society is telling you, no matter what you read about on CBS or, websites online. It's being resolute in your decision to do that. It's not settling to give up your body, your sleep, your time, your clean house, and your organizational skills to raise the next generation. Does it take work? Yes, it definitely takes work, but so does a career. You're just deciding what path you want to take. You're deciding what you want to work for. Do you want to work for money and a name for yourself and fame and material possessions? Or do you want to work for a legacy of being godly and serving the Lord and investing in the next generation? It just comes down to what you're willing to work for, and some of us have decided that we are willing to work for the next generation. We're willing to sacrifice. We're willing to pour our heart and our mind into the next generation. So, and Lady Winter, I had someone in my article I talked about, still remember a family member when I told him I was getting married at age 20. He said, "Oh, so you found your sugar daddy, huh?" He was calling my husband, my future husband, a sugar daddy. And I was just like, no. I couldn't believe he even said that to me. But now I'm just like, that's so hilarious because a sugar daddy, that implies that I live in luxury. And my husband provides a good living for us. He works hard. And, we have been able to take some really cool trips and see the whole United States and go to a lot of fun things with a lot of hard work. But I definitely don't live in a mansion and, eat caviar and have a silk robe on. So it's definitely hard work trying to raise godly children. We are facing a battle in the world every day. And just about the time I think I have this figured out, I have another curveball thrown at me. And I'm like, it just keeps you humble. And you're like, oh, here I thought I had it figured out. And I was doing such a good job. I'm such a great parent. And then this comes up and you have to deal with the situation in your home. It really keeps you humble. It really keeps me humble. I know that. So it keeps us calling on the Lord, for help. And it keeps us not getting a big head and just knowing that we need the Lord's help to help us through it. So hello, Finland. Okay, we're going to get rid of this guy. Okay. Let's hide user on this channel. There we go. So Crystal said, and I wanted to address this right now. Good. So it's almost been an hour and I still have more notes, but I wanted to talk to all of you guys. If you have any questions or anything, just let me know. She said, my mom and dad are still against my homeschooling the kids. They said they need to socialize. I just tell them my kids don't need whatever the word, socialization. It's so funny because they always say that, but if you meet my kids, if you've ever met my kids, all of my kids are so friendly. We were just at the library today. They are all talking a million miles a minute, talking to the librarian. They talk everywhere to everyone. Wherever we go, they're talking. And if you go even to a public school, they're always telling the kids to be quiet. They're not even allowed to talk to other kids. So what in the world? Yeah, they have recess, but my kids are around church kids every single Sunday, the entire day, from 9 o'clock in the morning, 9:30 in the morning till 8, 9 at night. They are around kids the whole time. They're learning to interact with adults because they're around adults the entire time at church. So my kids are some of the most socialized kids you'll ever meet. So that whole homeschooling socialization thing is just stupidity. But, what do you do when society is telling you that you're wasting your life? Realize that even though society changes, the Bible does not change. And the Bible is clear what women should be doing. So, it is our job to stay at home. That's the design that God created. And obviously it's still hard. It's hard work, but it's the best design that there is. And it aids in having the most the strongest family relationships that you can have when you are doing what the role that God did you to do. So, as more mothers have left to go to work, the home has been the first to suffer. And we've seen that through society. The mom is not there. Started with the latchkey kids in the, 60s and 70s is kind of when it started falling apart. When mom had to go get a job and the kids just came home from school and fended for themselves until later at night. It started creating a lot of problems. Kids started rebelling and doing their own thing, not caring what their parents said. It was a lot better in the June Cleaver days, Leave It to Beaver days, when the moms were home cooking and cleaning. So it just was. Yes, the kids are very self-confident when homeschooled, no bullies. Exactly. And that's just it. My kids have not really been picked on. And you can tell when a kid is, you can tell when a kid starts to retreat inside himself because he has been bullied so much or he has been picked on so much and he's very self-conscious. And my kids almost have too much self-confidence sometimes. If you know Allie, especially, she has a little bit too much self-confidence sometimes. I'm always having to tone her down, like, okay, there, whoa, tone her down a little bit. So let's see. So Sky says, tell them they have more socialization from church, sewing, and being around me all day. School just shuts them down. Yeah, they're constantly telling them to be quiet at church, and they'll never have it in school. And that's another thing too, Jessica. She said, my kids also know how to talk to different ages, not just their peers. Yeah, it's learning to interact with adults is really important for kids to do. And my kids are really good at it because they've been around. Well, we just now recently started getting a lot of kids in our church. Before it was pretty much our kids and one other family and adults. So they learned to talk to adults from the time we started the church 8 years ago. And then, they've been in church their whole life. So that's a great training ground. If your kids aren't in church, by all means, get them in a church. But surround yourself with those who love you and are rooting you on. Get rid of the toxic ones. If you have someone putting doubts in your mind and it's always on your head, like you're always thinking about it, you're taking a shower and you're thinking about this person that keeps saying negative things to you and it's just getting you down, just get them out of your life. You don't need that. You really don't. So, remain resolute in your mission and just do it. Realize that you're going to have rough days, but it will be worth it in the end. And your attitude about it will show. And this is one thing I wanted to throw in there too. If you know it's the most important job in the world, take it seriously. Take it seriously like a real job. Don't sit around on your phone all day. Don't just dial it in. Don't, just do your best. Always be busy working, trying to make it a better home, better atmosphere, training your kids, teaching them new skills. I have the cat in my lap and I'm petting it and I keep getting little hairs. So, just do a good job at it. Do what you're supposed to do. Guide the home. You can't guide the home if you're just constantly on Facebook posting fake stuff about your life. Realize that you're going to have rough days, but it is the most important job in the world. And, if you're trying to transition to a one income home, I wanted to put this in there. A couple of things that you can do is, number one, you can pay off your debt. You want to get rid of all the debt that you can, school loans, anything, get rid of your debt. Use your paycheck if you're still working and you're wanting to transition to a full-time stay-at-home mom. Use the paycheck that you're getting to pay off all the debt and only live off your husband's income for a long time. Only live off your husband's income while you're doing that so you can get used to it. Don't be used to paying, living off yours. And here's another, if you're newly married and you don't have children yet and you want to work a side job and you have time for that because you don't have children yet, don't live off your income. Only live off your husband's, because you could get pregnant the next month and have a baby 9 months later and that income's gone. So only live off your husband's income. Use yours for just a little nest egg to save up for something you both want, for a vacation. Use yours for something fun. So just don't live off both your incomes, because you're going to get used to that. Whatever income you're making, you're going to get used to, and you're going to live up to that. Not many of us live far below what we make. Most of us live right at what we make. So that's another tip too. But yeah, pay off your debt. And then, you're just going to have to do it. You're just going to have to take the plunge. Just going to have to take the plunge and just become a stay-at-home mom. And you'll find that you're going to be so glad you did. I've never met anyone that's like, I became a stay-at-home mom and I hated every second of it. I only lasted a year and then I went back to work because I hated it. Most women, when they go to being a stay-at-home mom all the time, they love it. And they're like, oh, I wish I would have done this sooner. So just take the plunge and do it. But let me see if I missed any comments. Kelly said, I hate the mommy YouTubers and bloggers who are like, being a stay-at-home mom or a career mom are equally important. No way being a stay-at-home mom is, she said, no way. Being a stay-at-home mom is way more important. I agree, especially if you want to raise the next generation of children, right? It's way more important. Yep, Logan said, or use your 401k to pay off debt so you can stay home. Yep, exactly. Mom works and does everything the stay-at-home mom does. It probably, I'm going to give it to him. Okay, fine. It's harder. But like I said, that's just part of the double curse. They're making it harder on themselves. They are working, they're working their husband's part of the curse, and they're having to do theirs as well. So yeah, I'll give it to him. It probably is harder. Let me get that cat. It probably is harder, but is it better? Definitely not. They're going to be exhausted. They're burning the candle at both ends, and they're just going to be exhausted and miserable and yelling at everyone and angry and hating their life. So, but then they say things like, well, I'd have time to do that too if I was home. Yeah, because we all sit at home, just eat bonbons all day and watch soap operas. That's funny. Hail Satan. That's nice. We're going to hide that person. They said they were new. We never responded. And they said, Hail Satan. So you can hail Satan all you want, but Jesus Christ is way more powerful than him. Satan's going to meet his doom one of these days. So Logan said, no, it's not harder. I've been a stay-at-home mom, working mom, and work from home mom, and stay-at-home mom is the hardest. So I don't know. I've never had to do the stay-at-home mom and work thing. So, but you have the experience, and you said that stay-at-home mom is the hardest. I will agree. It is a hard job. Like I said, when you get older kids, it's going to become a lot easier, because then all your training will have paid off. All those times that you had your daughter cook alongside with you, she's suddenly going to start cooking meals. Abby made our whole meal tonight. She's sitting behind me and she's like, entire meal tonight, and she did a really good job. And I'm able to do that now. I'm able to say, Abby, go make supper, and she makes supper while I'm dealing with a fussy baby, because Kelly was super fussy today. So it was either she was going to deal with the fussy baby or I was going to deal with the fussy baby. So it gets a lot easier when you have teenagers. And then Crystal said, my dad doesn't respect me at all when we visit. He tries to put the TV on movies with cussing. I tell him to change it, then he will, but it's like he wants me to know he has no respect for me. Then maybe you should tell him that he's not welcome if he's not going to abide by your house rules. That's what I would do. If someone was in my house turning on things that I don't allow my family to watch, then I'm going to say, if you're not going to abide by my house rules, I really don't think you should come here. So it's not wrong to not allow people to come into your home and go against your rules. Just keep that in mind. So Logan said, you're not at home making messes when you work, and people offer more help and expect less of you if you work at home. And that's another thing I addressed in my article too. It's very, very annoying how people will, if you have a bad day as a nurse or you have a bad day as a doctor. You can complain about it and write posts about it, and everyone is applauding you and patting you on the back and saying, "Oh, that's so awful. I'm so sorry. Condolences," all this stuff. But if you are a stay-at-home mom and you say you have a bad day, everyone's just sitting there rolling their eyes. "Oh, please, you're the one who asked for all the kids and you said you want more kids. This is your choice. You decided you wanted to stay at home." Almost like, well, you decided it, so have a miserable life. Well, look what you did. We're allowed to complain just like a nurse is allowed to complain. We're all going to have hard days, and sometimes we just need sympathy. We need someone to pat us on the back and tell us, "You know what, it was a rough day, but it will be worth it in the end. Just get back up in the saddle tomorrow and go at it again." That's what we need to hear. We don't need to hear, "Well, this is your choice. You brought this on yourself, having all those kids." You know what? This is what we chose. Just like a nurse chose her job, but a nurse has bad days sometimes, and stay-at-home moms have bad days sometimes. So don't ever get caught up in that trap of being that one that's always like with the snide glance, "Well, you're the one who chose this. You want more kids. You're crazy." You know what? Just encourage each other. Encourage. And I know you guys wouldn't say that. This is just coming from the world and people outside, that don't agree with our choices. But that is just one of my pet peeves. So one of my pet peeves. Oh, it's when you visit him. He respects your aunt who professes to be Christian. Well, then I just want to visit him, honestly. If he's going to do that, knowing what our rules are, then luckily, I mean, both of my in-laws and my mom and stepdad are great about this. They will even ask before they let the kids watch a movie, "Is this movie okay? Is this allowed?" So they have always cleared things with me. If they didn't, though, and they were going behind my back when my kids were there, or I was there and they were turning stuff on they knew I did not approve of, I probably just want to go. And I would tell them, "Listen, I'm not going to be able to come if you're going to be playing things like that. If you're going to be subjecting my kids' ears to hearing things, vile things like that, I'm just not going to be able to come." But I'm not afraid of confrontation. So that wouldn't bother me to say that. All right, we got to wrap this up. So Kelly said, "Right. Or if I say something about how much we spend on food, you did that to yourself, right?" Well, you know what? Just say, "Oh, I know kids eat so much." Just sympathize with us, okay? It costs a lot to feed a family. And Kelly and I, we're both like major Aldi shoppers. So we don't even spend as much on food as a lot of people do that like shop at, Kroger all organic section. We're Aldi shoppers. So we try to make our money stretch, and it's still a lot of money. So we all love Jesus. Not all of us love Jesus. Many of us love Jesus. Not all of us love Jesus. Most of the people on this channel love Jesus, but the world does not all love Jesus. There's not many people that love Jesus. So, hello, Irene. Yes. Oh, okay. Well, I'm not bigoted. Maybe I'm bigoted if you consider believing the Bible bigoted, but we're going to hide that user too. We got a lot of trolls out tonight. So he just made an unnecessary comment about me being bigoted. And that's what's unsettling. So I guess the world would call me bigoted. But you know what? My faith is in Jesus Christ, and my faith is in the Word of God. And I am going to continue to live my life patterned after that. And if obeying God and keeping his commandments and loving the Lord and keeping his commandments is me being bigoted, then I am bigoted. So yep, because I'm not accepting of everything and I'm not accepting of everyone. So I guess I am bigoted. And there's a lot of other bigoted people on here that would agree with me. So anyways, if there's no more questions, I have gone right at an hour and 5 minutes. So y'all go into the welfare office tomorrow to beg for more benefits. That is one thing. I'm not on welfare. I'm not on welfare. I pay cash every single week for my groceries, and we do not accept food stamps. We pay for all of our bills in our house. We pay for our lighting bill. We pay for our heat bill. We pay for our cell phones. We pay for everything. My husband is a very hard worker, and he works 2 jobs, and he pays all of our bills. So there is a time and a place for people to be in welfare, not just people with kids. If your husband's lost his job, it's there for a time and a season. If you have to go on that for a little bit, there's no shame. I do believe that a man needs to provide for his own family, though. He needs to be paying for his own food. Once again, you don't want to get that welfare mentality where you just are ungrateful and you feel entitled, to everything. So, but yeah, I'm here to say we are not on welfare. So that statement is completely false. So you can go jump in a lake too. So I don't know. There's a lot of people trolling tonight. We had a lot of listeners the whole time. I guess it was like Kelly said, a very controversial subject. So, okay. Yes, you're right, Logan. Shopping the farmer's market is not a right. In fact, it's funny because I get milk from mom, and I was talking to her, the lady that does my milk one time, and she was talking about how she had someone call and ask if they take the link card, which is the food stamps in Illinois. Someone asked if they took the link card for the milk. And she's like, no, this is only cash that we do here. They're like a small locally owned farm. So she's like, no, we don't take the link card. But getting raw milk is not a right. Getting raw milk is not essential to living. So, if you can afford it, then by all means get it. If you can't, then don't. So, all right, let's wrap it up. Yeah, they need to find a bridge to live under. Very, very true. Trolls don't aggravate me. If you have trolls, it just shows that you're reaching more people. So if this is not for, the show is not for the trolls. This show is for those of you that want to live this lifestyle and you need encouragement. I am here to encourage mom. I'm just a mom encouraging other moms. That is what this channel is here for. Let the trolls come, whatever. I could care less. So, all right. They don't have a life. You could do a whole show on the straw man arguments of not being a stay-at-home mom. You are correct. I could. And I might possibly. My stay-at-home mom shows tend to get the most views. I think a lot of women are really thirsting for this and they need the encouragement. And they know that their place is in the home and they want to learn more about it, or they're single and they want to be a stay-at-home mom. So anyways, I'm going to wrap it up. And Karen from our house said, for every video like, they cut off. LOL. Like the video and share. Very true. Kind of like every time you ring a bell, an angel gets its wings. Well, every time you ring the bell on this or share this video, a troll gets their Wi-Fi cut off. So I like that. We're going to go with that. All right, ladies, give me ideas. Leave comments. Give me ideas for future shows. Like I said, I didn't know what I was doing until right before I did this one. So I need some ideas. Tell me what you want to see and talk about. So have a good night. We will see you next week.